It's now my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Reverend Sally Robbins has been a minister for over 20 years and has been the senior minister of 3 churches in Maryland and Arizona, and now the associate minister for a 4th church in North Carolina. She currently lives in Asheville, North Carolina with her husband, Bob. Now retired from the pulpit, Reverend Sally is a contributing writer to the Science of Mind magazine. She is also currently writing a book that she hopes to have published later this year. I'm very excited about that. In addition to being a dynamic speaker and a published author, Reverend Sally is a sought after coach who helps individuals reach their highest potential. Would you please help me give a warm welcome to our very own Reverend Sally Robbins?
Oh, thank you, Jeannie. Oh, what a wonderful opportunity to drink in all this delicious consciousness of Creative Living Fellowship, one of my favorite places in the entire world. Yay! Oh, I'm so glad to be here, especially after this week. Can I get an amen to that? Just to be in the consciousness of my tribe. And I got to tell you, I had a very different talk lined up for this morning. I had completed it. It was all done. And this morning I found myself in the shower weeping. And I thought, okay, something's up here. So I sat down and Spirit helped me rewrite about 3/4 of this talk today. And so I just ask for your graciousness as I share a little vulnerability this morning, and I take us on a little different trip than I had planned, but Spirit obviously wanted to happen. And I want to say, even with the events of the past week, this is not about politics. I have never talked about politics from the pulpit, and I never will. And yet, with wherever you are in the political spectrum, the right, the left, middle, whatever, you would have to agree that this country has been through some volatility in the past week, month, couple years, that we have all experienced what I like to call like the paper cuts. You know, when you get a paper cut and you go, oh, wow, that really hurts. Well, then you forget about it, but then, whoo, there's another one. And when we have enough of these paper cut like bruises and piercings into our soul, eventually it starts to build up. And I think that's what's happening to me, to a lot of us. And so this morning, we're not going to do a spiritual bypass. I'm not going to tell you, just look to the light, everything's great. I will finish with that. But first, I want to lead us through a process of how we can acknowledge where we're at. This process was shared by Dr. David Alexander, who's the senior minister of the Center for Spiritual Living in Atlanta, Georgia. And he shared it on our ministers listserv, and I just was so grateful because it really addressed exactly where I am in this moment. And I'm hoping it relates to you too. If you are checking your emails, if you're doing anything else while you are listening to this, I invite you to come back, be fully present for this, because this is going to be a powerful way for you to acknowledge where you're at and join in the consciousness that we are intending to create in this center, in this world. So I'm going to start just by talking about the context of this. In the light of all that has transpired in the last few weeks, we have a powerful opportunity to recognize the unacknowledged pain body in our collective space. I'm weeping because I feel the collective pain. I'm an empath. You might be too. And I feel the collective pain in the space of this world. This is the power of community. Don't we teach that we're all one? We're all one. And when one hurts, we all hurt. And so we come together to feel and heal, to honor and recognize what no one will say, but everyone feels. So for all the women that are watching and listening to this, and those on the gender spectrum, please choose your space where you feel called to participate. All of you at home, I invite you, I encourage you to participate. For those women who are listening and watching, I invite you to put your hand on your heart. For anyone else, I invite you to put your hands up towards these women in our community and in the world. I open my hand towards all women. I hold you in my heart. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. Beloved women, I cannot know and do not know what it is to walk your walk. I do not know what it is to live your experience. I do not know what it is like to be shunned, quieted, dismissed, disqualified, or ignored. I do not know what it is to routinely not have my story believed. While I do not know what it is to have these experiences, I do know that I can take responsibility right here and right now to create a safe place in this spiritual community and say to you clearly and directly, I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. Let's take a deep breath in and just feel that. And to all the people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, gender fluid, queer, questioning, intersex, pansexual, two-spirit, androgynous, and asexual. And again, I ask all of you to participate in this. If you identify with any of those glorious, wondrous ways to express on this earth, I invite you to place your hands on your heart. And for the rest of us, let's hold our hands up to acknowledge these magnificent beings. Beloved, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, gender fluid, queer, questioning, intersex, pansexual, two-spirit, androgynous, and asexual family. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. I cannot and I do not know what it is to walk your walk. I do not know what it is to live your experience. I do not know what it is to be shunned, quieted, dismissed, disqualified, or ignored. I do not know what it is like to routinely not have my story believed. While I do not know what it is like to have these experiences, I do know that I can take full responsibility right here and right now and create a safe place in this spiritual community and say to you clearly and directly, I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. And let's take another deep breath and let it out. To all the Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the room, I open my hands towards all of you. I hold you in my heart. If you identify as a glorious manifestation in that way, I invite you to hold your hands on your heart, and the rest of us hold our hands up to you. And we say, I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. Beloved Black, Indigenous, and people of color family, I cannot know and I do not know what it is to walk your walk. I do not know what it is to live your experience. I do not know what it is to be shunned, quieted, dismissed, disqualified, or ignored. I do not know what it is to routinely not have my story believed. While I do not know what it is to have these experiences, I do know that I can take responsibility right here and right now to create a safe place in this spiritual community and to say to you clearly and directly, I hear you, I see you, and your voice matters to me. And I'm not going to forget about the men in our wonderful community here. To any man who has been marginalized, who you know where you are falling, especially those who are in loving support of the rest of us on our journey. I open my hands and my heart to you. If you are a man, I invite you to place your hands on your heart and feel this love coming towards you. Let's all raise our hands, the rest of us, and say, I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. Beloved men, I cannot know and do not know what it is to walk your walk. I do not know what it is to live your experience. I do not know what it is to be marginalized, shunned, quieted, dismissed, disqualified, or ignored. I do not know what it is to routinely not to have my story believed. While I do not know what it is to have these experiences, I do know that I can take responsibility right here and right now to create a safe place in this spiritual community and say to you clearly and directly, I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. Let's take another breath in. And may the vibration of these affirmations that we have shared and the meditations of our heart move out into the wider world and make a difference. And so it is. If you felt a shift, and I hope you did, I certainly did, that when I know that I have stepped into a place where nothing and no thing can come between me and the God within me and expressing that God in this world. And yet I have felt diminished. I have felt in so many ways where I really wondered. On Friday, I really wondered, what country do I belong to at this point? And maybe you can relate to that. When there seems to be such chaos and turmoil and divide and even hatred, it just makes me wonder, how do I continue to live these principles that I've been teaching for 40 years? How do I show up and live in the way that I want to be a person of consciousness, high consciousness? This is where I've had to really put the rubber to the road, so to speak, that I've had to really pony up and go, okay, it's time to put your big girl pants on. And it's time to live as you would live, no matter what is happening, going on in this world. The title of the talk that I'd chosen over a month ago is Being a Transformative Force for Good. So I'm still going to talk about that, because that's what I've decided to do. In the midst of how can I do this, that is my resolve, that I'm here to be a transformative light, a transformative force for good, no matter what is happening around me, no matter who is saying what, no matter what is going on social media, no matter what. That is my role and my mission. This is not for the faint of heart. This is for those of us who are saying yes to this higher calling. And I don't believe that it's an accident. There is no such thing as a random universe. Everything is happening for and to me for my highest good. My soul has called in these experiences to get to test. How do I know if I'm courageous if all I've had is really wonderful sunshine and roses? I get to test how I know what I know. Thank you, Spirit, for the opportunity to practice my spiritual practices. It's not spiritual perfect, it's spiritual practice. And yet I'm a little verklempt in thinking, oh my gosh, it's back to the basics. I can't just keep rolling along as if nothing has happened. I get to acknowledge the pain that I feel, and then I get to not dwell in it. Let me make that really clear. As we're climbing this mountain of consciousness, we can feel the pain of what has happened to us, but we don't pitch a tent and live there. We get to understand it, let it flow to us, through us, around us, and let it go. And then we get to move on to something else. I want to show you a video that really spoke to me this week. And I'm going to It's by Maya Angelou. And so as I share this with you, take this into heart. She really pinpoints what it is we are here to do.
Maybe the hardest part is if you teach, you have to live your teaching. You can't say you do not as I do, but do as I say. No, no. You have to say, I'm doing my best to live what I teach. I have a painting by Phoebe of a group that she calls Sister Suki's Funeral. And all the women, there are about 9 women, and they all look like women in my grandmother's prayer meeting group. So whenever I'm obliged to do something, I take that painting and I look at that painting. There's an empty chair. And I think, now, what would Grandma do? What would she say? I can almost hear her voice say, now, sister, you know what's right. Just do right. You don't really have to ask anybody. The truth is, right may not be expedient. It may not be profitable, but it will satisfy your soul. It brings you the kind of protection that bodyguards can't give you. Try to be all you can be, to be the best human being you can be. Try to be that in your church, in your temple. Try to be that in your classroom. Do it because it is right to do. You see, people will know you, and they will add their prayers to your life. They'll wish you well. I think if your name is mentioned and people say, oh, hell, oh, damn, I think you're doing something wrong. But if your name is mentioned and people say, oh, she's so sweet, he's so nice, oh, I love, oh, God bless her. There you are. So try to live your life in a way that you will not regret years of useless virtue and inertia and timidity. Take up the battle. Take it up. It's yours. This is your life. This is your world. I'll be leaving it long before you under the ordinary set of circumstances. You make your own choices. You can decide life isn't worth living. And that would be the worst thing you can do. How do you know? So far. Try it. See. So pick it up. Pick up the battle and make it a better world. Just where you are. Yes. And it can be better, and it must be better. But it is up to us.
Just do right, she says. Just do right. And I love that she didn't even tell us what exactly that is, because it's still upon our choice as to what that might be. And so when we get to that place, we have to understand that we have to look at what's mine to do. And so that's the rallying cry that I'm coming up. What's mine to do? Because she's right. If I'm teaching this, I have to live it. I have to live this with every fiber of my being. I may fall short of perfection, but I absolutely am going to give it my best shot. I remember a woman came to me years ago for a practitioner session, and she went on and on about how her job was terrible. It was absolutely horrible, and that people were stabbing her in the back, and that, it was just cutthroat and just not a nice place to work at all. And as she finished, I said to her, what if, just imagine, what if The only purpose of you being in that job was so that you could be the light that you are. Into the darkness that you perceive, what if that was your soul mission? Because you are there to be the light, no matter what. And she went, oh, I get it. I get it. And she went back, and it's not like her job changed dramatically or magically. She changed. Her consciousness showed up in a whole different way. Rather than seeing herself as a victim, she showed up as an empowered person who was there to love and to shine her beautiful light. I love what Panache Desai says. He says, we are put in exactly the place that we need to be to love the people we are around. Now, I find that a little hard to believe sometimes because, like, really? I'm supposed to love this? And yes, that's the message that I keep getting. That if I really do believe these practices, if I really do believe these teachings, that I am here to show up, do what's mine to do, and be a transformative force for good. I get to choose how that evolves and transpires. I get to be the one who decides that. And maybe the best way that I have found to do that is to ask this one question, and that is this: how can I serve? How can I serve? And when I ask that question, I can guarantee you, if you ask it, Spirit will find ways that will just start popping up all over that gives you the opportunity to say, yes, that's mine. That's how I can serve and be the light, the love, the truth, the joy that I am. How can I serve? What a great way for me to focus on that rather than all this other that's going on right now. And so I invite you this week, I invite you to consider being a transformative force for good. The reading that I chose this morning that Rhonda read, again, chosen maybe a month ago. And yet, when she read it, I was like, oh my gosh. The end of that reading says, this is Ernest Holmes saying this on page, what page is this? 439 of the textbook. There is no limit to the possibility inherent in all men. Let the timid soul put its complete trust in good and press bravely on. And so I invite you, my friends, let's press bravely on and find whatever it is that's ours to do. You've probably already got a couple of ideas on what's yours to do. How can I serve and be a transformative force for good in this world? Let's take a deep breath in. We've just processed a lot. Take it all in and let it out. And so I invite you, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and let's just close this time together with a prayer. It is so good to be in this safe space of knowing the truth, of knowing that I can create this space within myself and for all of humanity at the moment I desire to. I know that I can trust that good is happening right now, even in the midst of chaos and the hurricane and the swirl of all the worldly events. I can let it all go and know that I am the center point of good, the center point of love, the center point of trust, of harmony. I can know that to the very core of my being. And as I do that, as I trust that, I know that my good, the path of my good is opening up before me. Every stone in my way is being turned over. I can let go of the thoughts of what do I have to do next and just know I am being divinely guided into divine right action, and the perfect right next step is appearing right now. simply because I call it forth. I claim it right now that my path is being established. My good is here and now, and nothing and no thing can come between me and that good. And so I simply rest in that knowledge today, knowing that even as I weep sometimes, I weep and have great sadness and grief. That too is part of my human experience. I can love that and bless that, knowing that as I let that pass through me, that I am on my way to a greater good. I am on my way to something so magnificent I can't even have imagined it yet. And so I let loose of these human shackles of my human mind and step into the divine right now, knowing that I am blessed, I am prospered, and that I am completely ensconced in this divine magical universe of the one. And I wish only good upon my fellow man. The one is me. And so I simply rest in this knowledge right now, knowing that I have declared something to call forth the power and the vibration of my voice, just as every treatment, every prayer that we say is now coming into fruition because it has been called forth in mind. And so I simply let go. I allow it to be. I am grateful for the direction, for the guidance that is ever present within me. And when I feel that I've lost my way, I can return to this space and know the truth about who I am. I am blessed beyond belief. So I simply let go. I let it be so. And together we say, and so it is.